Hello, it's David Wales here, and this is my the video showing what I have accomplished for OmegaRace and networking. So I did kind of run into complications originally, so I've never been able to get this running on my home computer, unfortunately. I keep getting the error with the gamer services component, and I've tried all the threads and everything, none of them work. So I had to go into school every time I wanted to work, and I have no microphone that works at the school. I tried and it just doesn't pick it up for whatever reason. And so I had to record the gameplay there, and now I'm doing my voiceover on my home computer. So I can show you the gameplay right here. So when I run it, it opens up. First thing you see is the signing into Windows Live, or in this case, I just do a local profile. Opens up, do system link. In this case, he's the host, so I do create. Create. You can back out if you want and go back and choose. No sessions found because there's none being hosted yet. So right now I hit create, so it's created a lobby. And on another computer, I joined. You can see now I'm running around as the host, shooting. All the sounds are working as intended. Now I'm moving around as the remote. Everything's working, and this is on this video is from the host's perspective. So there's the network movement. This is my attempt at shooting him, but I'm missing. So he dies. You see the kills goes up, and the health goes down. So now he only has one life left. You can see the mines work. Shoot, game over. Goes back, brings you to the lobby. And now I can ready up again. It goes back into the game. You can see the score stuff is still active. I couldn't remember if this is how it was in the original game. So there's just one line I commented out on my changes that originally cleared this out, but I thought it was cool to have it carry over. And I think that's how it was originally. So now as the remote, you can see I shot the host as the remote, and now the remote has 1 kill and 4 deaths. So he does. The collisions are a little funky on this. Sometimes they get stuck, and that's how it was with the original one for me too. Okay. You can see there that scores are correctly going down for each one respectively. Now I'm gonna try and show the mines being hit here. Show you that the mines work. You can see their collisions work against other players and all that. So you can see there, missile versus bomb works, collision. And this is about when I realized I could just fly into the mines instead of try and actually do physics and get him to correctly glide into it. Right here is where I realized that. So I fly into it, he blows up, game over, goes back to lobby. You can start again, scores are correct, and everything else is back to the original state. Okay, so now into my code. So, I guess we can start off, we'll go down the PAs. So the first thing I did was the input and output queue. So the output queue, you just do add data. Add data takes a queue data. Queue data is just basically a base class that all my different messages derive from. So for instance, if I go into physics message, it derives from queue data right here. There's a couple structs outside of it that are the different objects that it points to. So position, which just is a vector 2, and rotation, which is just a float. And the queue data has all these virtual functions, which you can override. So in physics message, say overrided visit, which goes and actually responds to what the message was about. So in this case, if it's a position message, it pushes the physics with the object's rotation as it is, and then the position vector from the data. And same thing for the rotation, just, you know, the rotation data there, and then the object's location. And then I have the write data. Now this goes and it writes all the specific data for each packet. So the share data is the type of physics message it is. So it's either a position or it's a rotation. And then it writes the ID, which in this case I use the hash functions, or the hash number that C# provides for each object. And that was what I was able to use to identify what object was which on the different machines. So I just pass this hash function, and it would just find it on the other machine easily. From the game object manager, that is. And then it goes in the switch case. If it's position, it writes its position. If it's rotation, it writes its rotation. And then read, it goes through, it reads the message type, it reads the game object ID, and then it reads the specific data. So position, it reads, or it assigns data to a new physics position, and it reads the vector. And for rotation, new physics rotation. Now all of those share pretty similar layout. So like here's the player message. So I have one for move, one for rotate. In this case, the state one actually isn't needed. I don't think I use it, but it goes move and rotate, and those in visits. If you move, it goes through and it calculates the direction, and then it pushes that. It applies linear impulse in that direction. You know, it does its specific things in this rotation. It adds the rotation from the packet. Write data, same thing. Writes the general data, writes specific data. Read data, same thing. Reads the general data, reads the specific data. So those are all pretty much the same. So you just add one of those Q data. So in this, for instance, for when I am shooting, X is shoot, so I add data, new missile message. It's a creation message. It creates the new missile create object and passes in the ID. In this one, you can see the add data has a second parameter that's by default false, but if you enter true, it sends it over the network. So then in output queue, when it goes process, it goes calls instance process data, and instance process data goes and it writes all the data from the that's what calls the write data function for my QData base class, or it if it's not send over network, it just adds it to the input queue right away. And then after it processes the data, it sends the data over the network, and then the input queue catches it. Now the input queue in the process, it goes and it reads incoming packets from all the local gamers. And the incoming packets goes through, receives the data, and receives the different types down here. Right? Create receive data goes through and it switch case for all the different types of messages. And then it returns the QData object, and then it adds that QData object into the input queue. And from there, it can call visit on them all right here. And then it clears the queue. Simple as that. So then we'll go to the lobby stuff. So the lobby stuff, I used a lot of the NGSM sample stuff. And I just kind of stripped it down and modified it so that it would work in my setup, and obviously changed the graphics and all that. So in this case, it goes through. It adds the message display, the gamer services, and like I said, the gamer services was not working on my home computers, neither one of them. I tried everything. I don't know, maybe it's Windows 10 or maybe it's just me, probably just me. Then it adds screen. It adds background screen, which is the it is just the image of this. That's what it is. And then it adds the main menu screen. The main menu screen goes in here, and it creates all the different menu entries is what it's called. So that's what the floating text was that you can actually select. In this case, it's just a system link menu entry, and it adds a system link menu entry handler, which when it's selected, it creates your find session. Create a find session goes through and it adds this screen. It adds the create a find session screen to the screen manager. So that brings up the screen, the create a find session screen, and then that creates all these new menu entries. So the create session, find session, back. In this case, they have their own handlers here. You see, so create session goes through. It begins the creation of the game or of the lobby, I guess. And when the operation's completed, as designated by the handler, it goes through and it creates the lobby screen. Now, alternatively, it goes into the find sessions, and that begins find, and it adds the handler. When the find is completed, it goes in here. If there's no available sessions, it scraps it and nothing happens. And then if there is sessions, it goes and it creates the join session screen. The join session screen creates all the different the button or the different menu entries for each game found. So that's actually what displays all the games with the name of the host and then the amount of players that are in it and then the ping or the latency. And that adds the available session menu entry selected to each of those entries, and that just means when you select it, basically, it begins the join on that available session. And then when the join session operation is complete, it goes through and it adds the lobby screen. And the lobby screen, it's kind of going down the chain here. The lobby screen, when both players are connected, you can see here the max gamers is set to 2 because that's what it is for us. If you are the host here and the network session gamers is greater than 2 and everyone is ready, then you can start the game. And that's what actually creates the game. Start game goes and it calls, or it goes and it opens up gameplay screen. So the gameplay screen is where everything happens. This is where this is the whole game, basically. This is a lot of stuff that was originally in the game1.cs file, but now it's in the gameplay screen.cs file. So in here you can see, for instance, like because this is client host setup, if this network session is the host, then it adds the contact listener. Otherwise, it does not. That means that only the host processes collisions. So we're all good on that front for the client server. And then here in the load content, this is where I assign the local player ID. I just find if you're player 1 or player 2. And then it gets your player and sources local player. Now I use that for a lot of the other stuff, such as movement and shooting and all that. But then an update, if this screen is active, then and the state is game, so make sure that we're actually in the game. Then it checks input. Check input is what we can do everything as, or we can move around, rotate, shoot, drop missiles, stuff like that. So if D's down, then we want to move, or then we want to rotate, and in the positive 0.1 direction. And we do this nice trick here with the network session.isHost. That means if you are the host, then you don't need to send the packet over the network. But if you aren't the host, then you do. A, rotate left. the negative here, and this is what adds output queue.add data, and it's processed, and then it's added. It's either sent over to network and then grabbed into the input queue, or it's just sent directly to this computer's input queue. D-pad goes player message. This one is a move, and it takes the world center and the ship speed. Now that then goes and it's sent, and on the host or on the server, it determines the ship's orientation and it moves in that direction. And again, the network, that is host stuff there. And then for the missiles, we just want to send the creation missile, we want to send it to the local player, and we want to send it over the network, because we want the missile created on both sides, not just one. And same thing with the bomb. And then, up back in here, you can also see that the physics manager is only updated for the host. So, physics is not updated on client. It is instead sent to the others. It is sent to the remote through this. So it does its stuff. It does everything it used to do, except now it pushes the position and rotation for the physics object that it's currently updating to the local machine and over the network. And this is what I was talking about, the hash code. This is how it finds the reference to the object. Score manager, game object manager, updated in both because it's calling the same functions. And basically my network stuff just handles the events that actually update all the numbers. So I didn't really have to worry too much about the score manager because it updates at the same rate as the server because it receives all the events through the server. And then finally at the end, the output queue is processed, and then the input queue. And then if session state to a lobby, so basically if you're exiting, then it goes back to lobby screen. And you can see all the way at the bottom, whenever I wanted to end the match, I could just call, it's down in the public methods, I could call game over. That sets the state to winner, and it calls conclude match. Conclude match goes in here, sets the game screen equals the null, and clears data. Clear data goes through, cleans up all the singleton stuff and all that. And then if you're the host, it ends the game. And that's how we bring the thing full cycle. So I covered most of the stuff for all of them, all of the PAs, but I guess I can do a little bit more for the moving ships or PA7 one. I went over the physics and I went over the player movement and rotation stuff. I can show you the missile. Missile message was just a creation. The creation happens here. Visit, and it finds the player from the ID passed through the packet. And once it finds that player, it creates a missile off that player. So that's how in the gameplay screen, in the input, I added missile message create. This one was local, so in this case it processed it and immediately put it in an input queue. Input queue calls visit on the base class. Base class is a virtual function, so it goes down into the missile message visit. And then the type of this is creation. So the case is creation, finds the or casts the packet data or the object data to missile create, finds the ID, and then creates a missile. And then write data here. It writes the missile type, writes the ID of the player. Here, read data, reads the packet type, reads the player ID. Simple as that. Bombs, basically the same thing. I just needed to do a create. That's all that really mattered. Wrong one there. I just did a bomb create, and that just also ID. When it visits it, it finds the player, and then it creates. So it creates bomb with the ID. you actually just pass the player ID right into Create Bomb. So that was pretty simple to do there. In that regard, I think I'm pretty much done with this. I've gone over just about everything. Yeah. So, I'm really sorry I couldn't do the recording on this computer. It just I tried bringing a microphone to school and it just wouldn't work. And I'm doing all these things for all these classes, and I figured I'd do the next best thing, which was just make a video of it there. Send it. You can try it out if you don't. You think I'm doing something devious here, but I'm sure you will try it out anyway. But yeah, this is the game. It works, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. There's some things I would probably redo. Most notably, I mean, the score system. It wasn't really needed to do it networked in this, but for like cheating wise, you probably would want it to be controlled by the server. So, a little iffy on that one. But it works for this game. The physics stuff all being done on the server, I like that. The message system, I really liked. I had went back and redid a lot of it. Mainly renaming things. I didn't think my first names were really good. But I like the visit, write data, read data system I had going on. It's pretty simple. Input queue, output queue worked really well. I touched them a little bit at first, got them working, and then I never really had any issues with them, which was really nice because then, if I had any issues with anything, it was the individual messages and not the actual system as a whole. So that was nice. Yeah, I think my biggest thing was this matchmaking. The matchmaking was a pain. I had a lot of issues with it. But I was able to figure it out, luckily. I just had to go and I had to figure out what was calling what the handlers did, all that. And I kind of piece it together, modify it how it needed to be for the OmegaRace game, strip out things that weren't needed. There's a lot of like a pause screen in game. We didn't really need that. The game's a pretty short anyways. But yeah, that's it. I'll let you go. Thanks for an awesome quarter, and maybe I'll see you around. Adios.